Welcome to Unlearn the Crap TV with your host, Kathy Baldwin. Unlearn the Crap TV is more than just a show. It's a movement towards breaking free from the disempowering structures designed to benefit the few at the expense of the many. It's about education, healing, and unlearning the detrimental beliefs that have been ingrained in society for generations. So now, please welcome the host of Unlearn the Crap TV, Kathy Baldwin.
Welcome to a special edition of Unlearn the Crap TV. Today we have an amazing guest, a contributor and collaborator that I've been working with, and someone I cannot wait for you to get to know. Today, my guest is Sanjay Raja. He is the host of the upcoming show on PBS and going bigger and bigger called Recipe for Wellness. Welcome, Sanjay. Thank you so much for being here.
Absolutely. It's such a pleasure. It was an amazing time in Toronto when you and I first met, and we filmed such a great segment. So I can't wait for everybody to see you on the big screen.
Awesome. Well, you kind of jumped ahead, and so let me explain. The reason Sanjay and I know each other is because I am on season 1 of Recipe for Wellness, and the show is about to launch on PBS in November, all across the country, and it's getting even more. So yes, now everyone understands. I'm not sure that we're putting the pieces together. So thank you so much. We had a blast in Toronto.
We did. Yeah, it's a global city.
The only thing that I regret is the power of the universe is really strong. So I get hot very easily, and we had been in a massive, massive heat wave. And so I requested from the universe, from the God, please don't make me sweat. Please make me cool. And we were cold.
Yeah. It's a good change of pace for me because I'm from Orlando, so I live out there most of the time. But I enjoyed it. I think it was like 50 sometimes when we were there.
62, 64.
64. Okay. Well, that's cold for Florida. Okay, so that's cold for us, But it was a good time.
Absolutely. Let's spend a few minutes talking about our experience of the show, and then I want you to share the story of how the show was born.
Oh, yeah, that's quite a story. It's never a straight line. So, but please, I would tell you that the experience of the show for me so far has been just not only meeting interesting people like yourself, but learning so many things along the way. Like I try to take away something from every guest to add to what I've been doing, because if we're not learning, we're not growing, as the saying goes. And from what I learned from you, you told me I was the Gemini generator. That's always stuck with me, by the way. And I had no idea what that meant. I'm into Zodiac a little bit. I know my sign, I know my personality traits, but you kind of went more in depth with it, the Gemini generator. And that is, you told me that I generate opportunities for people, generate new beginnings, generate new things. And I kind of took a step back and I really took some time to think about that. I said, I don't think of it that way. But yeah, just some of the stuff that I've been doing has been involving and collaborating with so many different people. And it's creating new opportunities for everybody else. And I love the fact that an unintended consequence of our show was people like yourself, Samantha Taylor, all these other people who've been on our show, just kind of took it to a whole new level. And I love that. I think that's probably one of the most rewarding things I've ever been a part of, is seeing coaches like yourself who've got this great, important message, being able to give it a larger audience. And we were able to help you in one step of your journey, and now watching you guys fly. I love it.
Oh, thank you so much. It's funny because I was having, it's not funny, it's a silly saying, but I was having a conversation with someone the other day and they said, what was the best thing that you could say about the show? And what I said was that Recipe for Wellness became an organic experience. That as each curated guest was brought on, that the show evolved and that no two people were the same. The show's format was not necessarily stagnant where you would be able to tell one episode from, they would just rinse and repeat. There were so many different categories and topics and aspects and dimensions to the amazing guests that you curated on this show. Congratulations.
Nothing happens without a team, right? And our team consists of Michael May, our director you met. He's fantastic. He just creates all these wonderful segments. And then our mutual friend and Melanie Warner, from My Defining Moments. It was not by chance I met her, honestly. So that's a whole other story. But the quick and short of it was I'm a big believer in whenever you're ready, the universe kind of rewards you with the next step, and life happens for us, not to us.
Yeah.
So that being said, she found me on LinkedIn and we developed this great professional relationship. And then she was into health and wellness, and she became a key part of our team, brought in all these interesting people, and it's just been growing ever since. And I'm just so thankful, and we've been so blessed because every single day I get to do what I love, which is the show, meet interesting people, try interesting foods, and travel and just explore the world.
Doesn't get any better than that.
Yeah, I know, right? I know, right? The funny part is that 6 years ago, I had the idea for the show. I think that was your other question, so we can kind of get right into that. I had the idea for the show because I wrote a book in 2018 called The Food Talk: A Parent's Guide to Teaching Healthy Habits to Kids of All Ages. And a lot of funny stories came out of that because I did a book launch at Amazon. Not Amazon, I'm sorry, at Barnes and Nobles here in Orlando. I did a book launch. And you know what the funniest part was? It was seating for about, I don't know, 50, 60 people. Nobody showed up to that book launch. Nobody.
Oh,
No, it was a learning experience. That's how I took it. It was funny. My kids were there, and then some people were stragglers who came in, and they just wanted to support me. And it was just a learning lesson, I realized, is that I've heard this from a lot of authors, and that is your initial book launch sometimes doesn't go as you plan it to be. And moreover, it gave me the idea to go, we could take this a step farther into a TV show. And then that same year, we were approached by Discovery Channel, who said, hey, come on out to California. We got a copy of your book. We'd love to talk to you about creating a TV show about it. So I said, yeah, let's go. So me and the kids, we packed up, we went to California. They met them, they met me. They said, let's do this thing. And we were well on our way. We put pen to paper. And what ended up happening was halfway through signing of the contracts, they shut it all down. They said, we are going to all paranormal. So we were going to be on Travel Channel, and Discovery owns travel. So they went to all paranormal, and then we got booted out. So then Michael and I regrouped, and we said, what do we do? I said, you know what, just keep going. We're going to find the right home eventually. We're just going to keep going. So we're building up the social media, which I'm horrible at social media. You know this. I'm very bad about it. Building up social media, building up the momentum, did more speaking opportunities. We did a lot of different things. And then public television got a copy of the book. And they said, we'd love to make the show. Seems to be about the right time. And we meet with them, and we haven't looked back, and now we're growing. So it's been a fantastic journey so far.
congratulations. There's so many things that you just said that I want to address because one of the things about your book launch at Barnes and Noble, how many people put all of their eggs and hopes on that first launch and then feel like a failure when it didn't happen. And your story shows how that wasn't meant to happen because you were meant to go in this direction.
Yeah. No, it's so true. And that is, I looked at it as a data point, is that it just didn't work, and that's okay. Um, and everybody involved with that book launch, what I realized was I had a publicist at the time who do a lot of PR for me, and I spent so much money, but it got us nowhere, honestly. And I think that's another big mistake authors and coaches and speakers make, is that you start building this team and you start paying all these people. And what you have to realize is if somebody doesn't share your vision, and this is how you know if they share your vision, which is they see what you're trying to do, but they have no tangible evidence that's going to work, but they jump on anyways. That's how you know. And that's how I knew with Michael. He had so many films under his belt. He did 2 successful TV shows. And guess what happened? He basically said, I'm going to keep working on this with you. And then Melanie joined in. She put in time, effort, and sweat into this thing. We had no idea it was going to go. We just had a distributor. That's all we had. And so we started building the audience. And so that's kind of how you know, is that somebody or a team builds a vision around an idea, and you guys all put all that effort towards that. And guess what happens? A lot of positive things come out of it, which is our show. We put it on a shoestring budget, honestly. We made it out of nothing. And the quality has been so good based on the little amount we had, is that now we got picked up for season 2, 3, 4, 5 on public television. They said, just keep going. We got our own time slot. So we're going to be on Saturdays and Sundays at 10 and noon nationwide.
I knew that.
Yeah. We have our own time slot. And so it's going to be public TV, public television. We got our own streaming channel that's going to launch in January, so we get the international audience. And now we're in talks with other streaming platforms, major networks that want this kind of content. So you just don't know what's going to happen.
Absolutely.
Right? So it comes down to one thing, then, is, are you passionate about what you're doing? If so, you're going to do it no matter if you see results or not. You just got to believe in the vision. And then once you follow that vision, you're going to start attracting all these people who believe in you. And that's how we are. That's how we are here today. So.
Yeah. This story could not be a better example of what I stand for in Unlearn the Crap and my alignment with universal laws, with vibration, with the law of compensation. You kept going, and you are now being compensated for all the efforts and all the contributions you put into it. So congratulations. Well done. You are a story of resilience and perseverance and vision. and that is just so awesome.
No, it takes a team. Like I said, without Michael and Melanie, this wouldn't be possible. Without you, without all the other guests, this would not have been possible, honestly. So I always say it took a team to get us here. And it takes our team to grow even bigger now to get us to the next level, which is what's happening right now, which is fantastic.
Yeah. You and I had a conversation a little while ago about the perfect storm that we're in. We have exponential change and volatility happening in this world. I talk all the time about how our systems are unsustainable and they're breaking, and people are getting lost. And I see Recipe for Wellness as it's not a food show, although it may have started that way. It may have started with food nutrition. It's now about holistic wellness in our lives. And I see this as the bridge that introduces people to how they can navigate these incredibly tumultuous times.
Yeah, so that's a great point you brought up, and that is we originally pitched the show as me helping families educate their kids on health and wellness. That's how we originally pitched the show. We did a trailer, we put in all this resources into it. Michael and I put our own money into it to build this whole trailer out. We did everything. We pitched it out, and it was lukewarm at best, the reception we got, because what we realized was that people don't want to be told what to do. Sorry.
Oops.
We got a storm coming, so everything's going crazy right now. What we realize is that people don't want to be told; they want to experience something with you. So what we did is we changed it up, and we said, okay, let's change this up. How about we use food as the backdrop and tell interesting stories and see what comes out of it? And so what we realized by doing that is that every person has a unique story. Every person's story, somebody in the audience can relate to.
Mm-hmm.
And what came out of that was segments that I didn't even plan for. We mapped out these storyboarded these segments, and these conversations took these amazing turns we didn't even plan for. Like, I'm not gonna tell the audience much, but I just did the editing with Michael on your episode in Toronto, and the emotional connection that I felt just by watching it again was fantastic. It was amazing. So
Oh,
I know, yeah, yeah, you're very passionate about what you do. You believe in what you do, and that's the reason why I tell people about unlearn the crap so many times. I've stolen that from you, by the way, but I do give you
take
credit.
use those words. There's a
I,
movement.
yeah, I do give you credit for it, and it's amazing because it's just so simple in how we're programmed to be a certain way, and we can unlearn all this pattern behavior.
Yep.
And so for me, it's just been a journey. I'm learning every day, and one of the things I've been learning is that I try, and sounds so simple, but it's so hard for everybody, including me, which is we live in the past where depression is,
Yes.
or we think about the future where anxiety lies.
Yeah.
We just don't live in the moment,
Yeah.
right? And that's why they call it every day is a gift. And that's why we call it the present. By being present, it's a
Yep.
gift to us because we don't know what we're going to expect.
Yep.
We just know that it's a gift to be alive, number one. And if we stay away from the past or the future, so many good things can happen by being in that moment.
Absolutely. I could not agree with you more. When we find our center, when we find our authenticity and we align with that, just like you did, you just like I did. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I thought Unlearn the Crap was going to go in a totally different direction. The evolution that this path has taken has just been me trusting the process and allowing it to
Yeah.
happen. And the same has happened with the show, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's taken on a life of its own. Every day I get something new from the show, and that is we're going to go this direction, which I think we're going to go, and then we take a hard left, but it's always positive. So it's we can control so many things, right? But if it's meant to be in our destiny, if we're so passionate about it, it kind of gives us a path, and we just follow it. We're here to enjoy the ride at this point.
Absolutely. I am so thrilled. Can you share with me your favorite experience of season one before we get into the plans for season two? Because that's really
Yeah. Favorite moments of season one.
because I believe
Yeah,
you interviewed a few famous chefs.
we did. We interviewed a gentleman by the name of Robert Hess, who was on season 3 or 4 of Hell's Kitchen. So he came on the show with Gordon Ramsay, and he was about 560 pounds. So he was a big guy. And the story that he told me about how Gordon Ramsay changed his life, I can't share with you because I don't want to ruin that episode. But what I will tell you is that he made a transformation that is so inspirational, and now he's changing other people's lives. I got a chance to cook with him, and we shared stories back and forth a little bit, but it's amazing how relatable you see these people who are on TV now, that they started from humble beginnings, just like we all do,
Yeah.
right? And it's not like they ran into fame and fortune. They worked their way up to it. And a large part of it's luck too, being at the right place at the right time. Large part of it's that. But
I'm going to call that alignment, not luck.
okay, I agree with you. I agree with you. A synchronicity, if you will, right? So,
Yes.
but the common thread to people like you, people like me in the audience, is that he was so passionate about being a chef. He didn't let his weight get in the way. He didn't let all the setbacks get in the way. So he achieved his goal, and now he's taken it to a whole new level, which is just amazing, you know.
Wow.
So that was one of the episodes we did. So I can't wait to share that one. But I would say, to answer your question specifically, I think the New York episode I really enjoyed. I've been to New York many times, but there was a moment there where what happened is myself, Michael, and our camera guy, Matt Glass, who's fantastic. He's been part of our team now for every episode. We all went to Chinatown, and we were like, let's get some Chinese food and just sit in the park and just talk, right? So we'd seen a couple of guests, so we went to a Chinese bake shop that makes these buns stuffed with savory and sweet meats. So we went there, and we found at this place because we were at Katz's Deli, and the locals were asking us what we did, and we were like, "Yeah, we're filming TV shows." So they were so helpful. They said, "Go here, go there." We're like, "All right, let's go." So we go out there, we get this big box of goodies. We're sitting there eating, and then, of course, Michael, being the director, he's just like, "Throw a camera on this guy. We got to talk about something." And I said, "All right, fine, let's talk about something." So I got to be really real, and what I really loved was that this was episode 3 of the show now. Every episode that's been going on, we get more and more personal. So people know about what's been going on in our lives, and we just get really connect with the camera and the audience. And I shared a story about how me eating these Chinese buns, some of which were full of sugar, some were savory. If you were to ask me to do this almost 5 years ago, I don't think I could have been able to do it. And the reason why is that I was a professional athlete for a long time in my younger years. And people think that athletes are these well-tuned machines that have it all together. We do on the outside. But on the inside, there's a lot of turmoil because it created a lot of eating disorders for me. I had to eat a certain way. And I got off of sugar for so long that I wouldn't touch it. If I went near it, I'd lose my mind. If I found out that I ate a little bit, I'd have panic attacks, really bad panic attacks. Yeah, because I used to be obese as a kid. I got rid of that obesity, and then I went far in the other direction, which was eating so healthy and so clean, and then developing really bad eating habits because I was so regimented that I couldn't go off the reservation, right? And so doing this show has really pushed me and challenged me because I got to try everything. I got to eat all these foods. I got to try everything. I got to do it with an open mind. But the epiphany I had in the park was that eating this food, you would ask me to do this like 5 years ago, I wouldn't be able to do it.
Wow.
Yeah, I couldn't get past myself. But now I try everything in moderation and enjoy it. And I just say to myself, you know what? This is just another day, another experience. I stay disciplined 99% of the time with workouts, eating clean, that this is meant to be enjoyed. This is not something I'm punishing myself for down the road with self-loathing. So I think that was one of the most interesting segments we did on the show.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. That is so amazing to hear, that your own journey is not just about health, but you actually really transversed all the way to wellness, where you can experience the breadth of life and all of those enjoying experiences.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing. We see people on camera who seem, a lot of famous people, a lot of athletes, and we look at them and say, God, they really have it together. Right. But what you don't see is that most everybody is like a duck on a pond. Everything's calm on the surface, but right below the surface, his little feet are just moving a mile a minute. Right. We're all trying to figure it out. For me, I realized in order for me to be effective with the audience is I have to be extremely personal with the audience. So they have to experience the journey through my eyes because everybody can relate to it at a certain level. And once we started doing that, each episode we started filming became more and more interesting as we went along.
Wow. That's amazing in so many ways, because as somebody who my outsides were a total expression of what I was going on inside. All of the disease, the stress, the fibromyalgia, everything. It was blowing me up like a balloon. And so
Yeah.
people would look at me and have their own judgments about my relationship with food. Whereas I probably ate less than most people. It was,
Hmm.
and I ate well, but it was the disease. It was the chronic inflammation. It was the microbiome. It was all the other things. And so what you're saying is even when it looks perfect on the outside, we all
Hmm.
got it. Yeah.
Well, my other company is a nutrition and fitness company that I've been running since 2011. And this is what started me on my wellness path because I fixed myself as best I could. And then others started taking notice and they wanted to join me along the way. So I created a whole business out of it. I'll share an interesting story with you. And that is every single time I go into working with a client, and if it's a husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, or even an individual client, my first question is, so tell me about your relationships. And they get this confused look on their face. And they're like, why do you ask me this question? I said, well, there's a simple answer to that question. If they're married, for example, or if they're with a significant other, or if they're living with their parents, somebody has a relationship there at a certain level. I said, you have to realize that if you're going on this journey alone, here's what's going to happen. Other people are going to see your transformation. They're going to look at you, and you may not say a word about it, but they're going to feel like you're judging them based upon what you're doing because they feel inside they're not doing enough to match what you're doing. So they're going to sabotage your progress. Yeah, I see it all the time, especially with married couples. And I always tell them, do it together. Otherwise, it's going to cause a big rift in your relationship. It always happens. And 9 times out of 10, I'm usually right about it. Once in a while, people are able to do it together as a couple, and then one falls off and the other one continues on. Those are very rare. But most of the time, what I realize is that obesity, poor eating habits, all these things come internally, but they're caused by external judgments we're getting from the outside world.
Yeah.
We're living for other people.
Yeah.
Right? I grew up in an Indian household, right? And I'm from northern India, and that part of India is called Gujarati. So that's kind of the subculture that I grew up in. And what I didn't realize was that until much later, is that in that culture, no matter what food you're making, they just put sugar in there every single time. It could be a savory dish, it could be a spicy dish. They just put sugar in there. And I asked my mom that question. I'm like, why do you do that? She goes, that's just what we do. And I said, so you created a drug addict is what you did. Okay. Because sugar is like the most prevalent drug on the planet.
Yes.
Right. And it caused a lot of my obesity issues because she would feed me a lot of sugar because of the cooking. And then on the other hand, I had my dad going, why can't you lose weight? Well, how do you want me to do it? Right. So I'm being judged for not losing weight, and then I'm being fed this endless supply of sugar.
Yeah.
Right. So the point of the story is we're being judged by all sides.
Yep.
So I would just tell people this is your journey, and that is you have to be mentally strong. You're going to be judged, but you have to realize this is not about them. It's about you and rediscovering yourself. So that's why I ask the question every time, how strong are your relationships? Are people going to support you or are they going to judge you? And it happened to me when I was married.
Wow. Wow. You just made a beautiful point that I want to reiterate. And that is even if our surroundings and the people we love and our communities are not supporting us, it is up to us to be self-directed and self-aware enough to build our own community, our own tribe, get the support, get the coaches, get the mentors. Because if you are ready to grow past your current circumstances, there is absolutely no reason that you should go it alone.
Well, you've been on a journey yourself. I've been watching you online doing your journey, right? And I'm really proud of you for doing it. And it takes a lot of courage for you to go online, expose this is how I'm feeling today. This is what it's like today for me. So it takes a lot of courage for you to do that. And so, and it's amazing that you're doing it in public. Most people can't even do it in private,
Yeah.
right? So you're living that path, you're living that truth right now. So I'm very proud of you. And I think that's a fantastic you're sharing with everybody.
Thank you. Let me just explain to everyone who's watching. When I met Sanjay and I was in Toronto, I had the most amazing experience. But him and I had had a conversation about me. And we got personal after the filming. And Sanjay pointed out that I don't walk properly, that I walk toe to heel. And in walking toe to heel, I have set off all of my balance. And so I've
Mhm.
had back pain my entire life. I've torn my ligaments and sprained my ankles. I had osteoarthritis in both of my knees and had to have both of my knees replaced. And so I'm thinking if somebody had have known right from the beginning, hey, you're supposed to walk this way, and I was corrected as a child,
Mhm.
how would that have changed my life? Because I gave up physical sports because I was getting injured so much in my teen years. And that's when my weight issues really expanded.
Yeah. So what we don't realize a lot of times is that a certain chain of events can set us off on the wrong path. We just are not aware, right? And the answer of when somebody is carrying a lot of weight and you hear from the outside world saying, just lose the weight. Why can't you just lose the weight, right? It's
Trust me,
exhausting.
I've tried for 40 years.
It's exhausting to hear that, honestly, right? Because I've gained a lot of weight in the past. I've lost a lot of weight. And it comes down to the fact that I stopped listening to the outside world, number one. Number two, you have to be in love with the person that you see in the mirror, right? You just have to be in love with that person because the only person that's going to show up for you is you,
Yeah.
right? At the end of the day,
Yeah.
you know, one of the things I do, and I think you're learning it as well, is that I've become a certified coach in what's called VUCA, which helps you overcome challenges in the modern world. And I went down my VUCA journey starting in 2023, and a lot of things took off because I changed my mindset. And one of the things VUCA teaches you is be the hero of your own journey,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. So if you were to watch a movie about yourself 10 years down the road, right? Nobody wants to watch that movie of where you're living this life where everything's perfect. Nobody wants to watch that movie. It's too easy.
Boring.
Where's the depth? Where's the depth? What's the story here, right? What
Yeah.
people want to see is the underdog, the person that overcame so much and they got to where they want to go, but they want to see the peaks and valleys in the journey. That's why we love Rocky. That's why Rocky's been around since I was watching it as a teenage kid,
Yeah.
right? It
Yeah.
just he's been high, he's been low. He's been high, he's been low, but he just keeps moving forward.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I want to bring it back to what you were saying about my journey because I don't know if everyone who watches this show follows me on social media. But
Mhm.
in my emotional healing, I went to root cause. I went to an energy healing. I released the traumas. I dealt with everything on my emotional and mental issues. For my physical, I did not want to do another diet. I did not want to go to the place of, because I counted calories, I did weight loss or Weight Watchers, I did every diet known to mankind. I even went on this crazy diet where they had me exercising for 2 hours a day and eating 600 calories. It was insane. I mean, I've done it all up and down like a yo-yo. So I thought this time I'm doing root cause analysis and I'm going to the cells and I'm healing the trauma and I'm releasing. So I'm on a 21-day cleanse, which is what Sanjay's talking about, because I am determined to finish this final stage of my own healing journey and get into the best physical, mental, emotional, financial position of my life. And Recipe for Wellness has been a huge part of that. So on that note, I'm going to take a sip of my freshly squeezed green juice.
Okay. Well, to your point, Kathy, and that is before I started my company, I tried every single diet out there just to know what it feels like. I did keto, I did Mediterranean, I did Atkins, I did every single one just to try it, right? And what I realized was that I've got a lot of willpower, but no amount of willpower can keep me on a diet forever. It's
It's got to be
unsustainable.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So we always tell people it's a lifestyle change you're going for. So what does that mean? You're going to have good days. You're going to have a lot of bad days.
Yeah.
Right? So it's how you overcome the bad days that's going to determine your success level. Because it's not going to be easy.
No.
But nothing in life that's worth attaining should be easy.
Absolutely. I'm doing VUCA certification with you, so I am totally on board with that. And you just brought up a line that we learned in there is that our fear is our greatest right before the breakthrough. And
Yeah, we talk a lot about that, and we talked about what is, I think, the best thing, one of the best quotes from VUCA, and you'll learn this as you go through the process that I held on to, is don't question decisions in the dark, you made in the light, right?
would you share that
Yeah.
story? Would you share that story? Gives me goosebumps.
Yeah, so basically for the audience, if they don't know, this was a story of a POW. And he was held, I can't remember the exact backdrop, but I think it was in the Pacific Theater. Yeah, that's where it was. He was held in basically, his jail cell was a hole. And he could
In
see
the
the
ground.
light in the ground. Yeah. He could see the light above him when the sun rose. But every single day was the same thing. He was in the dark every single day. And he came out of it. And I don't remember the entire backstory of how they talked to him, but he said this quote, and they quoted that in VUCA, and I hold on to that quote because it's true. We question all these decisions when things are going bad, right? But if you hold to the vision, no matter how bad things get, guess what? That is for certain. That is, your effort is always going to be a constant. Everything else is uncontrollable. So we just got to stay focused.
Absolutely. The beginning part of that story was that he was going to the fence line, whatever, and getting medicines for people. And so he was the light to everyone else.
Yeah.
And so, yeah. And it made me think about conversations about how when we're in the good times, we can do things easy. And that's when we need to be doing those stretch work, that conscious inner work, so that we can handle those dark times.
Well, we think about it, and that is another VUCA term is moonshot goals, right? And that is we all can dream, right? But the difference is the difference between so many different people is that some people's goals are much bigger than others people's goals, right? And here's the thing. I don't disparage anybody for saying, listen, I want to work a 9-to-5 job and I want to come home to my kids and this is the kind of life I want. Guess what? There's nothing wrong with that.
No, that's
right?
Personal choice.
Right? 100%. But I knew that life was not for me.
Yeah, no, maybe
the minute I hit my breakthrough was when I became self-aware of what was meant for me. Yeah. And I think that's the hardest part, is knowing what you want to do with your life and becoming self-aware, saying, this is no longer acceptable to me, and I want to move forward into something that is acceptable to me, right? Doing things on your own is really, really hard. Being an entrepreneur is so hard. I get kicked in the teeth every day, still, every single day. There's always
Bigger
something.
problem. Yep.
Yeah. You're the only one that's going to fix that problem. Nobody's going to care as much as you about your business, right?
Yep.
But what the rewarding part is that every day I overcome it, I learned a new skill set. You don't learn skills through success. You learn it through failure.
Yeah.
Right? And
Yeah.
so that's why you rinse, repeat, and test. Rinse, repeat, and test. You just keep doing this process over and over and over again. What people don't see is that in the 6 years we were building out the show from 2018 to 2024, there was a lot of turmoil going on in my personal life. I was going through a really bad divorce, like horrible in every way. I was trying to be present as a father of twins. I had to move. Half my assets were all gone. I mean, I literally started from scratch again. It was a hard reset on everything.
Yeah.
I had personal turmoil. Had my dogs that had been through me with me through the divorce, who were my furry kids, they died all of a sudden. I mean, just everything just kept happening, one after another, one after another. And the one thing that my best friends can tell you, because I talk to them, not about what was happening, is they can all tell you one thing. They'll say, we wouldn't even have known this was going on. You would have never seen it on my face. I hid it really, really well. My kids, I talk to them now, they're 13 right now. At the time they're going through this, that I was going through this, they never saw me break my smile when I was with them. They never saw me crack when I was with them. But there was a lot of times where I just like, oh my God, I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. I have no idea. No clue.
Okay, so how did you stay grounded and how did you self-care? Because you can put on a mask so nobody knows is one thing, but
Yeah.
getting through that process and remaining whole and healthy at the end of it is a totally different path.
So I'll share this with the audience. It's pretty personal stuff, but I'll share it with the audience. And that is my self-care is that I didn't have a routine, honestly, for a long time. Is that I just kind of, when I interviewed you on the show, I just had the mindset of put on your big boy pants, toughen up, and just plow through it, right? Yeah, because I remember you mentioning this, and I said, "Wow, that sounds familiar," right? But what I did do is that I started to use exercise to take my mind off things. Now, I've always been working out; it's been part of my life. But I would do some ridiculously stupid hard exercises to get through it. What would
Well, you
happen to
kind of
me
still
is
do.
I well, I got into this cycle. What would happen is every 2 weeks, because I'd shut my mind down to what was going down, what was happening around me, I'd get baggage in my brain, start backing up. Anxiety, fear, stress, depression, all this would start backing up in my brain. And then I realized, I said, I got to do something to get it out of my head. So I would do stupid, crazy exercises till I puked or passed out. Every 2 weeks, I would do it. I would work out every day, but then I'd do this one crazy thing until I puked, vomited, passed out, or something. Guess what? I would get up from that. I'd feel great. I feel fantastic. I'd release my baggage, completely released it.
I
But
believe
I'd
that's
have to
called
do this.
somatics now.
But I would do this every 2 weeks. I did this for 6 years. That's what I would do. And yeah, so my body was exhausted. My mind was broken in so many ways. And then it finally, slowly, as I started making progress, started taking care of myself a little bit better, it evolved. And you know how it changed was that instead of saying living in fear, which is what I was living in for 6 years roughly, was living in fear, where I would say, you know what, I don't want to spend the money because I don't know when I don't know when more money is going to come in. I just spent the money. I said, we're going to go out. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. I just started saying yes to everything. Guess what happened? I started saying yes. The universe goes, here, have some more. Here you go. Oh, you said yes to this? Okay, experience this. Oh, you said yes to this opportunity? Okay, let me give you something else. So it opened everything up. What we think when we say no and we live in fear, we're actually pushing everything back that we want. I created
Yeah.
roadblocks for myself constantly.
Yeah.
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 And now it's all about breath work. Now it's all about relaxing. Now it's all about enjoying the moment. Now it's about self-care all the time for me. Because if I can't, I think you and I shared this. Another great quote I love is you cannot pour from an empty cup, right? Which is if you are not whole inside, how can you give the best to your kids, your family, your work, whatever it may be?
You can't.
You can't do it. It's impossible, right? So if you ask my kids now, who are going to be on the show, by the way, which is going to be awesome, if you ask my kids now, they'll look at it, they'll tell you he's a different guy. He's just a different person now.
Yeah. And that used to be a bad thing. You've changed. You're not the same person.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're
Yeah.
celebrating. Yes, I'm changing. I'm evolving. I am captain of
Yeah.
my own ship.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Oh, thank you
Yeah.
so much
And
for
I think,
sharing that.
yeah, no, you inspired me in so many ways, honestly, because what happens after our episode we did together, and I never got to thank you, so I want to say thank you in front of everybody, which is you were so open and honest with your emotions that day that afterwards, Michael and I sat down and he goes, can you get to that level? I said, you know what? That's a challenge that I got to get to. I got to be that open and honest. I got to be really showing everything, the emotions, the ups and downs, the lefts and the rights. And as you see the episodes go on, you're going to see all of that. So that was because of you.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
after living with so much trauma and holding everything underground, I realized that it made me sick and it almost took me out. And
Yeah,
that the only way I'm willing to live right now is authentically and true and vulnerable and open and intimate. I don't want to live in a place where I have to hide who I am anymore, where I have to pretend
yeah.
I'm somebody else. And so, yeah, if I hurt, I'm going to say it. If I've experienced trauma, I'll share it. If I experience joy, I want to share it. And do you know the thing about being able to be this vulnerable is when I was
Hmm.
hiding and living in the mask, my emotions were flat. I was
Yeah,
I was flatlining. I was not able to experience the joys, the ecstasy, the deliciousness of life because I was so afraid of not experiencing the depths of the darkness. And so
yeah.
it was so flat. I felt like I was not alive. I remember years and years ago, I had sciatica and I would
Mm,
slap my leg and my foot and say, it's a dead, my leg is dead because there was absolutely no life in it. And that's
yeah.
what my life turned into while I was living in these masks of people pleasing and self sabotage and pretending everything's fine.
Well, you know, the funny part is another thing I heard that was really interesting, which is so true, is that what's his name? Jim Rome, who's a famous speaker. I'm sure you heard of him. He
Oh,
said, "Guess what? Here's the one thing we do know: nobody's going to get out of life alive. Here's the one thing I do know, right? We're all going to die. That's inevitable. So,
absolutely.
how do how do you want to die? You want to die looking back, saying, 'I could have done all these things,' with so fear of judgment."
Yeah,
Or do you want to look back and say, I tried everything. I failed, I succeeded, I made money, I lost money, but I did everything I could. You know, door number two is a way more appealing option for me than door number one ever was.
absolutely. And
Right?
that is the passion, that is the vision, that is the mission you're bringing to Recipe for Wellness.
Yeah, you know, it's evolved every episode, which has been such a fantastic journey, right? Like what happens is that in pre-production, Michael and I, we'd storyboard some of the stuff like we want to go here, we want to talk about this. And for the most part, we followed it, but the conversations we had with you guys, we didn't know it was going to turn out like this. We had no idea. We just went with it. And that's the beauty of the show is that it's evolving us. We are not evolving it. So the show is creating new versions of us as we go along, which is so amazing, right?
And
And season one,
and
like you,
will the
go ahead.
viewers experience that kind of evolution as well? How can they utilize
Yeah.
the show for their own personal development and growth?
Well, you know what it is that when you're watching a show, and this is when I was not in entertainment, right? And I watched TV and do all this stuff. What I realized is that the shows that captured my interest challenged me in a good way or challenged me in a bad way, meaning I got mad at the show saying, how could they say such a thing, right? I don't believe that. Or it challenged me saying, yeah, I agree with this. If we can get an emotional response from the audience, good, bad, or indifferent, we did our job.
Absolutely. But you're doing more than that. You're connecting these amazing people with the audience. The audience, you're creating a seamless connection between the TV set that used to be like a different world. And you're reaching the
Mhm.
audience and providing these experts who are there to walk the walk with them, right?
Yeah, the hardest part about any journey is the first step, right? It's like getting the courage to go do it, right? And so a couple of things happened during the filming of the show. Number one was the experience changed me in so many ways. Every single episode, I walked away with something new. And then the next episode, I shared something more personal. It got me to open up even more, right? So, what I want the show to do for people is for them to experience something and realize that we're all going through the same thing, just in different forms, right? And have the courage to live your most authentic life because we're meeting people like you, so many other guests that are disrupting the way we think about health, wellness, nutrition, fitness, lifestyle, everything, right? Our production company is called Disruptive Productions for a reason. We want to disrupt what you think is normal and accepted. There are other ways to get your personal goals, professional goals. So we want to show you all that because I lived through it. I went through it. I'm still going through it. The journey's never over, right? And it was like Homer in the Iliad that said, it's not the destination, it's the journey.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? So that's what changes us.
Yeah. I love it. I love it so much. Thank you so much for allowing me the opportunity to be on the other side of this conversation. I have loved how open and vulnerable and really raw, Sanjay, you've come here today. And so I want to thank you for that so much. And I want to
Oh,
thank
you're
you.
the inspiration.
Oh, and I
Yeah.
want to thank you so much for the vision and the courage to see this dream through and bring it to fruition, bring it to the people because they are all going through transition and we're all in this together. And this is something I talk about all the time. When we collaborate, truly collaborate, then we
Mhm.
create a weave where we are stronger together. And
Oh,
so,
100%.
and so
100%.
I want to say
Yeah.
thank you for being a part of my weave. And I cannot wait to
Yeah.
see where this journey goes. I've already said that I want a spot on season 3 when I'm a whole different physical person. But for those of you who are watching today, I encourage you to set your calendars. Follow Sanjay on social media. His website is My Recipe for Wellness. It's right there. The show is called Recipe for Wellness. It's going to be on PBS in November. It's going to be a movement that goes across the world. Make sure that you seize every nugget out of it and
Yeah.
become part of the family.
Yeah, no, season two, just real briefly, is we're going to be all over the globe. We've got India lined up, Bali. We're going to be in New York again, probably. So it's amazing what locations are popping up, but India for sure. So it's going to be awesome.
I cannot wait to see it. But first, I can't wait to see season 1. And so
Yes.
thank you, Sanjay. And thank you for watching another episode of Unlearn the Crap. Don't forget to
Thank you.
subscribe. Don't forget to comment and share this with your community, because your ability to put your energy into sharing what's good, what values with you, what aligns with who you are, is part of that collaborative energy that we are bringing to the world. And what you do matters. Thank you.
This has been Unlearn the Crap TV with your host, Kathy Baldwin. Tune in each week as Kathy challenges you to rethink everything you know about personal empowerment and societal structures. Thursdays, 4 p.m. Eastern on the Bold Brave TV network.